written by Rennie Mitchell. A new army, more than 5,000 black soldiers, helped the United States gain independence from Great Britain during the Revolutionary War. Nearly 100 years later, more than 170,000 soldiers helped the Northern Union Army win the Civil War in 1865. It was until this war, however, that black men were allowed to join the U.S. Army during the times of peace. Congress passed the Army Recognition Act in 1866, which created the first peacetime regiments of black soldiers. Many black men who joined these regiments had served in the Union Army. Others were formerly enslaved people. The 39th through the infantry regiments and the 9th and the 10th cavalry regiments. They were the first from uniform. The infantry made up of soldiers who fought on foot, while the cavalry consisted of soldiers who rode on horses. Native peoples of the Great Plains first called the base of the 10th Cavalry Popular Soldiers. Soon, though, the name was given to all who served in these regiments. Joining the army after slavery ended in the United States, while lawmakers in the South passed new laws that greatly restricted the freedom of black people. This racist law was known as Black Code. They required the black to be employed, but also limit the kind of jobs they were allowed to have, usually farm or service positions. Black people were required to sign yearly work contracts for very low pay. If they didn't, they would be arrested and forced to do unpaid labor for a period of time, either in prison or in a white employer. In 1864, the army began paying all soldiers the same salary, regardless of their ranks. In most jobs, black soldiers were very much less advised. Joining the army was one of the few options black men had to make to earn a fair wage. As soldiers, most could earn more money than they would do at other jobs, while also receiving food, clothes, medical care, and shelter. Joining the army also gave black men many homes, habituated from receiving many vocal education as enslaved people. The chance to learn how to read and write. However, black soldiers experienced self-racial discrimination. Most white soldiers and officers didn't think black soldiers should be allowed to serve in the army. At first, black commanding officers also regiment. They are always led by white officers. However, many white officers refused to command black regiments. The soldiers also faced racism from the white civilians who don't want armed black soldiers near the community. For this reason, most black soldiers were sent to the Great Plains and desert on the western frontier. Out west, in the 1800s, the U.S. government wanted to expand the country's border westward. The government signed many treaties or agreements with native leaders that established border between U.S. territory and native territories. However, the government repeatedly broke these treaties, so white colonists could set on lands belonging to native people. This led to decades of war between the U.S. Army and the native peoples who were defending lands they lived on for thousands of years. These native peoples, including the Apache, Comanche, Changa, and Kiowa, among others. Over time, the U.S. Army forced more and more native people off their ancestral lands and more onto reservations. Reservation was small areas of land, usually the poorest farming and hunting lands available. Government officials also encouraged the mass killing of buffalo by settlers and soldiers. They knew the buffalo were crucial to native people. died on the way of the plains. Starvations are common for reservations and diseases spread quickly through the crowded communities. On many native people insisted being forced onto reservations and taught back against the army. Black soldiers were sent to the west to fight them. Black soldiers were also sent to protect white settlers because the west was so vast. It was difficult to enforce laws and more white settlers arrived. Outlaws rode freely, stealing cattle and horses, robbing banks. They also rode stagecoaches, brought important supplies and mail. Black soldiers were sent to protect settlers, stagecoaches, and railroads from these ships, gaining a reputation. Black soldiers were given the most and difficult, dangerous duties. They traveled across some of the roughest terrain in the country to find water, build roads, and map explored by white settlers. Endure extreme heat in the summer and freezing temperature in the winter. They received old horses, equipment supplies, and damaged equipment. Black soldiers also encouraged hatred and violence. Sometimes deadly from white settlers were sent to protect. Despite choose performed their duties well. Eventually, they earned a reputation as brave, hardworking, and talented soldiers. It was the native peoples that taught other bands, possibly the Cheyenne, who gave them the name Buffalo Soldiers. Many people think the soldiers reminded native people of buffalo in some way. Some believe the name comes from the buffalo fur the soldier wore. Others believe the soldiers were given the name because they were brave and fierce and sparkle like the buffalo. There is no evidence to support this belief, however, and the idea is challenged by many native leaders today. Later service. Buffalo soldiers served in the West throughout the decades of war between the U.S. Army and native peoples. 18 Buffalo soldiers were awarded Medals of Honor between 1870 and 1890. The Medal of Honor is the highest award an U.S. soldier can earn. As war in the West came to an end, many black soldiers were sent to fight the Spanish-American War. During the 10-week conflict in the 1898, Buffalo soldiers earned 5 more Medals of Honor. After the Spanish-American War ended, hundreds of Buffalo soldiers were at Park Rangers in California, at Yosemite National Park, and Squirrel National Park. Between 1899 and 1904, they oversaw the construction of roads and trails, fought forest fires, and stopped people from hunting animals and stealing timber. Discrimination continued. Despite the reputation of many achieving of the Buffalo Soldier, black soldiers still experienced discrimination. In August 1906, where citizens in Brownsville, Texas, accused Buffalo soldiers stationed nearby of killing a white man and hurting another. There was no proof the soldiers did this, and their officers said the men were in bed at the time of the shooting. Still, President Theodore Roosevelt ordered 167 black soldiers to leave the army, which caused them to lose their pensions. Payments people received after service in the army ended. It wasn't until a new investigation in 1972 and the soldiers were found innocent of the crime. During World War I, the racist policies of President Woodrow Wilson kept black soldiers from joining the U.S. soldiers in the battle in Europe. Instead, they were placed under the command of the French army. By the time the United States entered World War II, the regiments in 1941, the regiments known as the Buffalo Soldier has been disbanded and recognized. Black soldiers remain separated. However, until the 1950s, when black troops finally joined white regiments, they continued to endure racism from federal soldiers, officers, and soldiers. The legacy of the Buffalo Soldiers. Black soldiers have fought in every major conflict in American history since the Revolutionary War, but the Buffalo Soldier was the original 9th and 10th Cavalry, and perhaps the best known. People have written books, movies, television shows, and even songs about them. He have also built museums and monuments in Kansas, Alabama, and Texas in their honor. Despite experience served, sometimes factor racial discrimination from within and outside the army. Buffalo soldiers were the least likely soldiers to abandon their units. They showed incredible courage in the fight of fierce combat, daily violence, and harsh living conditions. The service is an important part of the United States history.
Good job!